Hello, Facebook.
Hey, Facebook. We missed you.
What is good? It's been a while.
This is probably the longest break I've taken from actively being on Facebook or working in probably the past year. So that was fun.
It's been a while.
Well, we just got back to Minnesota from we flew out of Vegas today. That was cool. And this past week has been one for the books. So, well, it's all fresh in our mind and everything. And I know a lot of people have asked us about everything that we did. We wanted to give a little update to everyone and just share how we rang in the new year among many things. Yeah. So, Jess. You want to fill us in a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. This week has been fascinating to observe myself in a totally different setting, to observe myself in a space where I have no work to do. Like, who am I in that moment? And like, what do I choose to do with my time? And so that was a really cool point that I observed throughout this week. But it was fascinating how seeing him in the vacation setting, he is so good at planning. He's on top of everything. I literally didn't have to think about anything all week. He's like, oh, I got the shuttle, I got this, I got the car, I got the penthouse, I got everything taken care of, like it's all good. I'm like, dang, Mitchell.
Yeah, well, so here's like the cool thing. So I have traveled a lot in my life, and so I've learned a thing or two about how to really be able to enjoy it. Because the last thing you want is when you're out traveling or out doing something new to be worrying in the back of your mind about something.
How are we gonna get from
whether
here?
Did I leave the stove on, or did I have to answer that email, or some
right
shit that you don't want to think about. And so I perfected that over a while. But with Jess, especially, you know, this trip is like our intention for the whole trip that we just went on, right, was to really celebrate our love for each other and to get, you know, engaged and all that. And so little did she know. Yeah. Now with that, what's so cool is like with Jess, y'all know she's very, you know, very fun and loving and bubbly person. And to just see, like, no matter what we were doing, so we hiked this mountain called Angel's Landing, where you literally at the top, you're like looking down both sides of a mountain, and you have to hold on to it. You don't have to hold on to a chain, but it's recommended. And you're like, there's like a good 20 minutes on top of this mountain to get to one part of the mountain where you can oversee everything. And it's like, I'm just looking at her. She's just like having the time of her life. Like no sense of like, you can do it, babe. She's just like, I got this. Like, you want to go first or should I? But that type of, how do I say it? It's like, yeah, it's like enthusiasm, but it's like a synergy between us.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's really, really cool, because at the end of the day, I know Jess has my back, I have her back. So no matter if we end up in the park after the sun goes down and it gets kind of sketchy out there, it's like no matter what happens, I know that we're on the same team. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I want to share. So in total, we
were doing the numbers yesterday, right?
Yeah, so in total we had hiked, I think you wrote it down.
Yeah.
But it was like over 20 miles we hiked this last week, and 8 of them were through the river. So we had to wear wet gear and have like waterproof gear on and walk through the canyon. And at some points the water was chest deep, like legit chest deep. It was insane. And we're going and we're at like the end of not really the end of the trail, but we got as far as we really wanted to go.
Well, then there's like these waterfalls. So you're like literally climbing up waterfalls.
We're pretty like epic. Climbing up these waterfalls, right? And not a lot of people are in this passageway because it was one of the 2 ways that you could go. And the walls are much closer in this portion of the trail. So like the walls are closed. You got these waterfalls, these massive rocks. Like it's so cool. We get as far as we want to go on that path. And this guy, okay, like we are in water gear, like straight up
like overalls.
Bare minimum, like whatever we absolutely needed for the day to hike. and he starts proposing to me in the wet gear. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden, he pulls out the ring out of his overalls. I'm like, what? He literally brought it with us on this insane hike. And he proposed to me. I accepted his proposal, and there happened to be people passing by us at that exact moment to take a picture. It was spectacular. It was really cool.
And I thought, in honor of my relationship with Jess and how we are definitely not average people, we are rather extreme people. So I thought, what more of an extreme environment than in the middle of the winter hiking up a river and waterfalls to this place in basically the middle of nowhere. It was like the source of the stream of the park.
Zion Park.
Yeah, and so I thought it was quite symbolic on many levels, and it was just the perfect spot, and it was awesome. So that was a huge.
I think the temperature swings were like anywhere from 20 to 40 degrees, depending on if the sun was shining in the canyon or not. Mm-hmm. As we were navigating the water and hiking for, was it 8 miles total?
Yeah, we did like 8 miles.
For 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then we also did, so that was called the Narrows. The Angel's Landing was, he had explained it a little bit. And for me, it was interesting because it was trusting my body, that I physically was capable of doing these things, because there was a lot of people that were debilitated by their inability to trust their body.
Yeah, you saw a ton of people up there. They're like, I ain't going any further. Yeah. It's like you could either accept their bullshit in their mind and their story of what they think is possible, or you just realize, as long as I do one foot in front of the other, doesn't matter if there's a sheer cliff, I will stay, up here.
Yeah, and there was like a sign before you climb Angel's Landing. It was like, only 10 people have died since 2007. We were like, oh. But yeah, and we took e-bikes throughout the whole park, and they're like electrical bikes. So you had to pedal, but it like really supported you. And we took that all the way through the whole park. It was so beautiful. We stopped at all the little hiking trails we wanted to. And we also did regular biking for like 5 miles another day. And we also went over to Snow Canyon, and we got to watch the sunset on our last night. That was last night. That was so perfect.
Mm-hmm. And we had a Dodge Challenger that I rented, and so you get to take that,
so
and it's
good.
like 80-mile-an-hour speed limits out there, so you can just like take that thing around. That was really fun too.
That was and the Airbnb we stayed at. What?
Oh yeah, okay. This is also how you know all the stuff that we're doing is very real. Okay, we end up at this basically random Airbnb. I mean, it looked nice.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it looks nice, close enough to the park, makes sense, seems cool, good ratings, let's do it.
Yeah.
We get there. This lady has a whole wardrobe full of Tony Robbins training, Zig Ziglar training, Napoleon Hill, all this stuff.
Seriously.
And like it was ridiculous. It was like she knew about all the stuff that weren't in terms of like success training. Yeah. She had all the books. She had the original Napoleon Hill books. We're like, damn, she has this cool chessboard. She has like all this stuff.
The family crest.
Yeah. So her husband, who'd passed away, had like from some type of bloodline. I don't know, but they had literally family crest. They owned like 6 different businesses. Had a greenhouse and orchard. Literally the stuff that Jess and I are planning here in Minnesota, they're already doing it.
It was so cool.
And it was like. No, we had no idea that's what we were getting into. Yeah. So it's just further reaffirmation of like, you attract who you are. Like you, like based on whatever level you're at, like that's law of attraction, if you want to call it that. It's like you're attracting that similarity. And so we maximize that. Yeah. We spend like hours listening to like Tony Robbins and stuff. It's great. So yeah.
And we also, on New Year's Eve, we had a really nice dinner. And like just like a lot of different portions throughout the trip. Really, honestly, the whole entire trip was just so spectacular, and we got to learn and expand and push ourselves and break patterns. And it honestly, a year ago from now, I never could have seen myself not only just like physically being in that position to go to on a trip like that, like stay in a penthouse suite in Las Vegas, like stay in a really nice Airbnb and go hiking all week. Like I just wouldn't have been something I could have foreseen. And then now we're here and it's happening. Like this is what our life looks like now. And so I am seeing, as you take on more responsibility in your life, you can create exactly what you want. But you can't get what you want without taking that responsibility, because otherwise it's just delusion. It's like you imagining and dreaming this thing to come true. It's like winning the lottery, you know? It's like not actually physically creating it into your life. But we've been taking the responsibility necessary to build this for ourselves. And now we're in a position where we can take a week off. We can go have an amazing week together. He can propose to me in the middle of a river. And we know coming back that we learned so much from that week, and we can just apply ourselves here and just keep building. But we don't have remorse from spending. We don't have, you know, an issue with taking that time off. Like, we're in a position where we've created this for ourselves, and we want to support other people to do the same. So that's why I wanted to go live and just like share with you, like, yeah, we had a great week, but that's because of the work we've been putting in before this week.
Yeah, and like I'd say the closing thought that I would have would be 1 year ago, looking at where I was compared to now, and I just see everything that we talk about over and over. Relationships as agreements, self-forgiveness, working on yourself, using Techno-Tutor, things like that. It all pays off. It has a cumulative effect, and this is the manifestation of it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. But only a fraction of you will be even willing to do that. But here's another reminder to you of just step up and do it. Like, reach out. Let's communicate more, because all of this stuff is 100% possible for anyone. If you're able to watch a live stream on Facebook or watch this YouTube video when it's on YouTube later, you have enough time to create a magnificent life for yourself, like straight up. But it comes back to your starting point and who are you within it, because that's what really makes this thing work, is our starting point in our relationship. So yeah, so thanks for watching, everyone. We got a lot in store. I'm pretty stoked we're about to have some Thai food for dinner, but we're getting ready for the best week yet, the best year yet. It's so, like, the whole Self-Perfected group, like the past 2 calls we hadn't been on just because we were traveling, and like we were literally in a mountain when, you know, we couldn't have access to join the last call, and there's like 58 people jumping on the calls. It's like this, it's built, and everything is continually building and expanding. So now part of what we're here to do is to breathe life into these systems that we've built. And so expect to see even more of this. And a year from now, our lives will be even better. But it's not just enough for our lives to be freaking awesome. This is what's required for every human. It's unacceptable if only her and I can enjoy a week off and not have to work and go design and enjoy ourselves. We're here to create a world where that becomes possible for literally every single human. And if it's not this, our generation as our peers, it's the generation for our kids. That's what we're really here to do.
And also, just to pin off that last note, is your body is physically capable of so much more than you understand. Like, a lot of you underestimate your body's physical capabilities. Like, I just hiked over 20 miles, 8 of them through a river in 5 or 6 days, and biked.
And we didn't really train for
5 miles. No, we didn't train for this at all. But the thing is, like, I've had immense physical trauma on my body, like a lot of physical trauma. And the fact that my body can physically still do these things is amazing. Like, it isn't something that I would have conceived, but I just physically, I didn't even have to push myself. I just physically moved myself, and it happened. It's possible. It's capable. But you can't let your mind tell you it's not, and you can't say, oh, this is so horrible. Like, this poor, I don't know if you noticed him, but on Angel's Landing, there's this one kid who was with a family who he hadn't even gotten halfway up. And he's like, I feel like I'm dying. And his family was just like, okay, then you can just sit here and wait. And he literally sat there. And by the time we had come down, he was still sitting there. Because he didn't understand what his physical body was telling him. It was just like, you're exerting yourself, so you have to oxygenate your muscles a little more. You're gonna be out of breath. Your muscles may feel like they're kind of on fire a little bit. Because it was a pretty strenuous hike. But he wasn't even aware of that. And so he just felt like he was dying. Like he didn't understand.
Yeah, no one was there to actually
support him.
Yeah, support him and explain like, hey, this elevation change. Things like that.
So that's the two things. One, you can create the life you would like with taking the responsibility you need. We can support you with that. And that your physical body is capable of much more than you think.
All right, everyone. Well, let's make it the best week yet. And for those who can really hear this message, let's all step up. We just got... This is the real last point. We're in a freaking national park on top of a mountain in the sunlight, the wind. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And over half the people are wearing their freaking mask.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's a wake-up call to me.
So what?
That's a big freaking wake-up call. That people are blindly accepting whatever the authority says using zero common sense logic.
Yeah.
So, time to step up, everybody. We got a world to change.
Let's do it.
Bye, everyone.